Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here at the World Women Foundation in Cannes. We have some amazing panelists with us today to talk about the intersection of storytelling and culture and how we can use that to achieve gender parity. So, would love for each of the panelists to quickly introduce ourselves about, what you do, where you're from, and anything else you'd like to share.
Amazing. Can you hear me? All right. Last panel of the day. Let's do this.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Eva Bloomfield. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of the Elevate Prize Foundation. We are a global nonprofit on a mission to make good famous. And this past January 2025, which I will share a little bit more about in a little bit, we launched our Elevate Studios.
Awesome. Thank you, Eva. My name is Teresa Njoroge from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm the founder and CEO of a social enterprise called Clean Start Africa. We work to empower women, girls, and their children who have been impacted by the justice system. We also use storytelling to bring change within the justice systems across the African continent. Great to be here.
Hi, I'm Anna Sitar. I'm a content creator on social media, and I make content surrounding women empowerment and positivity. I love to be a safe space online for women and girls of all ages. And I also have a background in mechanical engineering and a master's in film and TV production, so I try to bring a little splash of all of that to my content online.
Amazing. Well, obviously, we have such an amazing group of panelists. A round of applause for them. They're great. I would love to kick us off with kind of a fun rapid fire question. So, can you all tell me about maybe a piece of art? Maybe it's a film, a sculpture, a painting. It literally can be anything that kind of taught you the importance of storytelling and gave you an insight on how it can really shape culture. Why don't we start with you, Anna?
Oh, a piece of art. I'm trying to think. In an interesting way, I feel like a large element of my online presence is creating little stories out of every day, making every little moment feel like a big one. And I feel like that trait or that attribute I just learned from capturing life around me and like through my parents and seeing my life as being a little movie. And I think a big part of society today is main character energy and having this sense of that the world not only in a way revolves around you, but also that you can make the most out of the world that you're presently living in. If I have to like truly think, I think part of me thinks about photography or old photos, like family photos, and that's such like a simple, endearing thing. I don't think it's ever one piece of content because as I'm ever changing and growing, I love little things. But I think seeing the growth from us as little kids to now is like the story that I love to tell. And like whether that's falling in love or having love in your family or just kind of sharing that experience and how we got from point A to point B and got older but got to still see each other through the process. I feel like that's probably my piece of art.
It's beautiful. Teresa?
Yeah, for me, I think I'll go with the book, The Storytelling Animal by Jonathan Garshall, where I love how he examines the human affinity to storytelling and its profound impact on emotions, on, our culture, and just the explanation and argument around how narratives can psychologically impact our, just how we interact with experiences and understanding those experiences and that shape our lives. And it was really profound for me because it truly helped me to navigate through some of my experiences. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Mine is not nearly as beautifully personal as Anna's, but I mean more than I can possibly count from books to movies. But I think one example that stands out in my mind is David Simon's The Wire. I think that was the first time I'd ever seen a piece of television that examined and challenged systems that we just sort of passively accept. And it was the first time my mind really opened up to the fact that television could really challenge the world around us. And really make us think and even turn us into advocates.
I love that. And I think art, right? It influences us all of you storytellers, and those audience members, again, are able to influence more and more and more people. And I think that's the most beautiful part of storytelling, right? Eva, I would like to kind of, bring us from personal inspiration to like the broader landscape of where we're moving, right? So in the recent few months, there's been kind of lack of funding or funders pulling away from purposeful storytelling, right? And Elevate Prize Foundation launched Elevate Studios during this moment, and you also just launched an amazing docu-series focused on purposeful storytelling. So why now, and why is it so important at this moment to invest even further?
There was an incredible quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but that someone just shared with me recently that says, "War begins when the ego shouts louder than empathy." And I've just been like just letting that like permeate through my entire being. I think we find ourselves at this juncture a lot, but we're certainly at a really pivotal juncture right now where we need to recognize that storytelling can be used to advance gender parity. It can be used to bring communities together, to promote inclusivity, but it can also be used to create harm. And we need to be really conscious of what's happening in this moment. There's a lot of misinformation being spread. There's a lot of propaganda being spread. There are really harmful narratives being perpetuated, right, which is driving divides between communities. It's just resulting in a whole series of detrimental outcomes. And so I think we have an opportunity, if not an obligation, to be louder with an even more positive narrative, right? We have an opportunity to promote gender parity. We have an opportunity to lift up people who are doing wonderful things in the world. We have an opportunity to humanize everyone, whatever disenfranchised community they may be from, all the more important. We have an opportunity to normalize experiences and really use storytelling for good. But we have to, as they say, flood the zone, right? We have to be incredibly loud with that. And so I think, it was really fascinating to launch Elevate Studios in January 2025. We launched at Sundance. There was a lot of fear coming into that conversation. There was a lot of vilification of diversity and equity and inclusivity, and people were afraid and stepping away from those narratives. It was suddenly considered risky storytelling. And we were also colliding with the industry, the entertainment industry being at a really interesting state of transition, let's call it. It hasn't figured itself out yet, right? We're going through a lot of change. And so we realized as a foundation, we are very privileged, frankly, to be able to invest in the stories that we believe in. And so all the more reason that January 25 hit, it ended up being very prophetic to launch Elevate Studios, to tell purposeful stories, to lift up communities and be bolder in the diversity, inclusivity, instead of shying away. And in March 2025, thank you for mentioning it, we launched our inaugural premiere project called Nevertheless, Women Changing the World.
It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Check it
Thank you
out.
for the shout out. And you'll hear from her in a moment, but Teresa is at the center of one of these episodes. So it is a mini series showcasing a few just spectacularly amazing women around the world doing the most phenomenal things, but also really, demonstrating like each and every one of them is also human and we can connect to them on an emotional level. And we really launched it as an experiment. We didn't know how it was going to be received. We launched it on YouTube very intentionally because the democratization and the access of that content was hugely important to us. Like I said, an experiment, and we put it out into the world, and I'm so thrilled to say that there was a lot of energy and engagement and excitement around the series. There was an audience. So, the episodes have been seen. I think we're somewhere in the 2.5 million range at this point. We also saw a lot of conversion for those in the room, who are all about digital media. We saw a lot of conversion to subscribers. So people were not only interested in seeing the content the one time, but they were interested in learning more and coming back for additional content. So the experiment continues, but it was really heartening.
Yeah, it's a great series, so please check that out. We also want to show you all a short clip of the docuseries with Teresa.
Is it coming up here?
I started shifting from me and the injustice, and then I started listening to the stories of the mothers. I'd ask the mother, what brought you here, the more I heard their stories, the more I couldn't believe that I was not the only one who had not gotten justice.
I was incarcerated in Langata Maximum Women's Prison for 6 months.
For 10 years, for 7 good years.
So that was a sneak peek. It's online. You should watch it. And Teresa, you've supported so many amazing women, but we'd love to learn a little bit more about your story and how storytelling kind of played a part in you starting Clean Start Africa.
Yeah, indeed. I set up Clean Start from my own personal experience when I got falsely arrested, ended up being maliciously prosecuted, and was convicted wrongfully to serve a year sentence at the largest correctional facility for women in Kenya. And I was serving this year sentence accompanied by my then 3-month-old daughter. And this changed my life profoundly in the sense that first, I was, wondering how could you be on the ride and then end up being incarcerated for something you've not done or been had out. And unfortunately, I was told that, I could go to the Court of Appeal, but in the meantime, I'd be serving my sentence. So that was like life-changing for me. But the thing is, while I was serving this year's sentence and still pushing for my appeal, I met these thousands of women, and I'm just so glad that Elevate Foundation invested in Clean Start's story and Clean Start's work to amplify the voices of the silenced women, girls, and children who are behind bars not for any wrongdoing, but because they can't afford either legal representation or mostly they're arrested and criminalized due to their social economic status. And those are some of the stories, some of the women you've had in that, snippet in what just showed. And to Eva's point, these were amazing, incredible women who were no longer humanized. That humanity in them had been taken away just because of their social economic status. So, long story short, I ended up being cleared of any wrongdoing and eventually was compensated by the Kenyan government. But by that time, I had already seen so much. And, walking into the justice system with a biased lens of those behind bars are in due to criminal behavior, but really getting to understand what is criminalized, i.e. poverty. And so I set up Clean Start to give the women a clean start. And, we have empowered more than 10,000 women who have, A, gotten justice, 2, gotten decent means of livelihood. But most importantly, in addition to empowering these incredible women and getting them out of this revolving door, it's bringing a new narrative in the justice system, because a lot of the justice systems on the African continent continue to use colonial laws that were left since the time of colonization. And we need to get rid of those laws and bring in laws that suit us and work for us. So it's just incredible to see the ripple effect. And this just began by the courage of speaking up to government and saying, no, you cannot incarcerate me just because I've refused to pay bribes, and saying no to corruption, and saying that, well, it's been 60 years post independence for Kenya, but just because this is what has been going doesn't mean that I'm just going to say, okay, I'll lay low. No, I boldly and courageously shared my story from one media station to the next, irrespective of the stigma and the shaming and the embarrassment, especially in a patriarchal society. And from that boldness and courage to share my story, many more lives of many women, have not only been transformed, but they've got their voice as well. So someone, I think, has to take the lead at some point and say, no, we're changing things, especially for women and girls when they are really suppressed.
And thank you for sharing with us and to the world through the docuseries. I'd love to know, right? I think oftentimes we talk about storytelling and its impact on how it kind of changes the way, the receiver thinks and like their actions. I would love to know for Nevertheless, how has that impacted your journey since it debuted?
Oh, it's been incredible. Let's begin with the fact that just 2 months since launching it, it got 1.1 million views. So it's amplifying the stories of these women who are still behind bars and some who are still building their lives 1 million times over for everyone who's watched. And it helps create awareness that this is happening. But over and above creating awareness, it's the funding and the support that we have received, because funders and partners get to know, oh my goodness, we had never even thought about women and girls behind bars. And why don't we think about them? We think that, those in slums or who don't have employment, are the lower cadre of, when you think about women who need opportunities. But when do we think about the pathways for these women and girls into incarceration? They are victims in most cases, victims of sexual gender-based violence, victims of their social economic statuses. And if they do not get support, it only gets worse for them. So amplifying through the Nevertheless docuseries has not only gotten the Clean Start Africa story to world places I would never imagine. I mean, look at where we are today, just amplifying the voices of these women who are still on that journey, yearning for freedom. So it's creating awareness, it's getting more funder support, because now funders have belief and trust of the Clean Start brand, just because the Elevate Prize Foundation have invested in us and are rallying behind us. And of course, the women get encouraged to own their voices and be like, I could actually speak up and not just let the abuse torment me much longer, So it's just incredible in all ways when you look at it.
Now, Anna, you have an amazing social presence, millions of followers, millions of views every day. But I think beyond just those metrics, your storytelling, your content, and your community, I looked at the audience, the comment sections, they love you, they talk to each other, and they have like a shared sense of community on your platforms. So I would love to know how storytelling has informed your path as a creator.
Yeah, that's such a good question. When I was in the platform that I'm most well known on is TikTok, and then following by Instagram and YouTube. And I feel like for me, something that I always found a lot of joy in is that sense of community and being able to share things online and realizing that the perspective that I have wasn't only from my own point of view, but really something that was seen among other women, or something that they had not seen someone else talk about that they might have been struggling with. The storytelling itself comes from when I was in my master's program, using my social media as a way to test ideas online and seeing how people pretty much accepted them. If they did well online, I was like, oh, that would be a great short film, or that could be a great way to share that experience. And whether it was relationships in my own life that were romantic, or with parents, or with friends, I was able to tap into and kind of create these narratives that I could crowd test in a way online and see how people would respond to it. And with that, I ended up finding a community on TikTok specifically where they were people who were really encouraging of that creativeness. And I think that was something that I hadn't found in my own life or online before either. And just being able to share parts of myself and ways that I was feeling, and kind of feeling that sense of support system and that sense of acceptance through people online just continued to encourage me to share not only deeper stories, but broader ones and more often and with more people. And it just gets better and better every time that I can also tell a story online and meet someone in person and hear how it's impacted them individually, and the ways that my different series or ways that I see the world has really like helped other women kind of gain confidence to also find themselves and share their stories too.
Yeah, I can definitely see the mechanical engineering degree play a part, right? Mechanical engineering?
Yeah, mechanical engineering.
That's crazy. I feel like the best storytellers have that mix of, the experimentation and the creative storytelling. So it's great to hear that from your journey.
Thank you.
I would love to know, right? You've done so much experimentation to like find your voice. Like, what's next for your digital storytelling and maybe the broader landscape?
Yeah, the broader landscape. I think something that I'm really passionate about, especially right now, is returning to what I really loved in the first place, and that is traditional media in the film and TV space. Working on scripts, writing my own feature films. I'm a big rom-com girly, so I'm bringing back the rom-coms is the goal. And so I just think like sharing stories online, and I think something that I'm really passionate about is just womanhood as a whole. Like I think that there's beautiful love stories that are romantic, and I think that means a lot in a rom-com, but I think a deeper story in rom-coms is the love of like womanhood and sisters and mother and daughter relationships and things that you don't always see on screen that can be messy but meaningful and can make people feel empowered in their journey throughout life. And so I hope for the future it's going to be getting to tell my stories on a broader spectrum and in a longer format, through television, through script writing, through directing, which is what I graduated with. And alongside that, being able to act, hopefully, in some of those projects and bring those to life on screen through characters that I really resonate with, and hopefully my audience will too when they see me on screen.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have kind of an off-script question for you, Anna.
I'm ready.
But you talk a lot about like sisterhood and womanhood and community, right, through your short-form content and then your aspirations with traditional media. Would love to know where that stems from and why that's so important to you.
That's such a sweet question. You're gonna make me emotional talking about that. I think something that like has always meant a lot to me is there's a complete difference being supported by, sorry, my boyfriend is sitting here, but by the men in your life versus by the women in your life. I think we share a lot of similarities. We share a lot of things that make us feel very connected. And I think that I have found love through not only female friendships, but through the women online that I cannot, and through even deeper than that, my mom, my mother, and my sister. I'm really lucky that I have a support system of women who really uplift me and have always made me feel really confident. And when I was online as a kid, I was always looking for that, like a sister online or someone that I could relate to or feel connected to. And so when I look back at my content, I genuinely ask myself, like, am I someone that I would have liked online? And am I somebody that I would like right now?
Yeah.
And I think that connectivity is what matters a lot to me. And my friends that I've made in my adulthood, although they're very difficult to find as an adult, and they can be complicated and they can be difficult, they mean so much to me, and the support of other women I think is so powerful that we don't lean into enough and don't realize enough how great it is to have women who aren't, oftentimes in society, we're always told that we're competing with each other, whether it's for romantic relationships, whether it's for opportunities, especially, I mean, social media itself is one of the few industries that is women dominated. And so even in this industry, we're often told that there's not enough room at the top for all the girls and who's going to be the best woman in the industry. And that's not true. And not only that, once you get to the top, you realize how many women are up there to help lift you up the rest of the way to the top of the mountain. I think that's really valuable too.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. To close us out, we'd love to ask each panelist what's coming down the pike, like what's happening in the short term, long term in regards to women empowerment and building that community. Eva, do you want to start us off?
Sure, I'll do a plug. So like I said, we launched our premiere series that was all about showcasing incredible women all over the world that was met with a lot of enthusiasm. And so I'm so excited to share that we have officially greenlit season 2 of Nevertheless, which is practically breaking news. And appropriately will be centered around democracy defenders all over the world. So at home in the US, in South Africa, and hopefully Brazil. And so keep a lookout. Please go to elevatestudios.co, sign up to get more information. Would love, if you're interested in partnership, please reach out. But that will hopefully be coming in late summer, early fall of 2026. Oh, sorry, I took your mic.
No, all good, all good.
Okay. It's very okay, Eva. So it's been 10 years of running Clean Start since setting it up in 2015, and we want to celebrate that as, you know, women who ordinarily never had a voice due to the many issues around incarceration due to their social economic statuses. And so I want to write my book first, and then secondly, from the book and covering thousands and thousands of these stories in bits of the book, I truly want to have a film around it to amplify this issue, not just from a Kenyan perspective, but from an African perspective and globally as well, because it really does affect women on the global scale as well. And then, of course, we want to take our model from Kenya and take it to the other African countries as well, and empowers 1 million women, girls, and their children on the African continent who have been impacted by the justice system. Yeah.
I think that for first off, what's down the pipeline and what I value the most is that sense of community and connectivity. So I think finding ways, which are like always in the process, of being more in person than online and getting ways to connect with my community and in-person activations is always like top priority. One of my greatest joys is getting to meet my friends from the internet, and so currently working on a few different ways to make that happen across the US and get to have my girlies all in one place at the same time. And additionally to that, it's like continuing to spread beyond social media being the only way to feel positivity radiate just from a phone through other mediums, whether that's movies, TV shows, books, all of the incredible ways that we can connect with one another and see each other in this world.
Amazing. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much.
Great. And we're done.